The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, sending crystal fragments across the opulent ballroom like tiny stars. Time seemed to freeze as 200 of Los Angeles's elite turned to stare at me. The woman they knew as Elena Martinez, the family disappointment, the eldest daughter who chose military service over multi-billion-dollar empire. What they didn't know was that in exactly 37 minutes, I would receive a phone call that would change everything. A call that would reveal I'm not just any soldier. I'm Brigadier General Elena Martinez, and I hold the power to destroy or approve the very defense contract their host family has spent 3 years pursuing. If you've ever been betrayed by those you loved most, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're ready to hear how I finally stood up for myself after years of manipulation. Hello, my name is Elena Martinez, 34 years old, and I am a Brigadier General in the United States Air Force, recognized globally as a leading expert in aerospace defense systems and quantum radar technology. But today, as I stand before the mirror in this modest hotel room overlooking the Pacific Coast Highway, I see only a woman in a simple navy dress, trying to remember what it feels like to belong to a family that understands and values who I truly am. I'm not one to boast about my achievements. My position requires discretion, not publicity. But if you insist on knowing, I'll keep it brief. I graduated summa cum laude from the United States Air Force Academy, earned my master's degree in aerospace engineering from MIT with a focus on advanced propulsion systems, and completed my doctorate in quantum defense technologies from Stanford. I've led Operation Sky Shield, which prevented a coordinated satellite attack that could have crippled our nation's GPS infrastructure. I developed the revolutionary Quantum Defense Grid, an early warning system now protecting 15 major metropolitan areas from aerial threats. I've testified before the Senate Armed Services Committee on Classified Matters, briefed 3 presidents on aerospace security, and received the Distinguished Service Medal from NATO for contributions that remain locked away in classified files, operations that happen in the shadows to protect the light above. Currently, I serve as Director of Aerospace Defense Innovation and Strategic Operations at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado. In simple terms, I'm the person overseeing America's next-generation air defense systems, managing defense contracts worth tens of billions of dollars, and coordinating with international allies on space-based threat assessment. I hold security clearances so high that even mentioning their names requires special authorization. But no one in my family knows any of this. To them, I'm just Elena, the eldest daughter, the older sister, the one who chose to be what they dismissively call a low-ranking officer playing soldier. I stand now in front of the magnificent Grandview Resort, where my younger sister Isabella is celebrating her engagement to Marcus Blackwood, heir to a tech fortune and perfect match for the Martinez family's social aspirations. The resort sparkles like a Mediterranean jewel against the California coastline, with its cascading terraces, infinity pools reflecting the sunset, and gardens that seem to spill directly into the Pacific Ocean. The sound of a string quartet drifts from the main pavilion, mixing with the sophisticated laughter of guests and the gentle rhythm of waves against the rocks below. I take a deep breath, smooth my dress, and feel the familiar weight of my Air Force Academy ring on my finger, a constant reminder of the oath I took and the promise I made to my mother that I wouldn't miss Isabella's special day, even though it's been nearly 8 years since I've been home. 8 years since I chose my path, walking away from the golden corridors of my family's aerospace empire to live in military compounds, secure briefing rooms, and through countless sleepless nights protecting our nation's airspace from threats most people never imagine. My family is far from ordinary. My father, Ricardo Martinez, is the founder and CEO of Aerotech Dynamics, a colossal aerospace corporation that designs and manufactures everything from commercial aircraft to experimental space vehicles. The company employs over 50,000 people worldwide and holds contracts with NASA, the Department of Defense, and space agencies across 3 continents. He's a distinguished man with silver-streaked hair and penetrating dark eyes, always impeccably dressed in handmade suits, radiating the quiet confidence of someone who built a technological empire from a small engineering firm he started in his garage 30 years ago. My mother, Carmen, is far more than a corporate wife. She serves as Aerotech's chief design officer, holding 17 patents in aerospace engineering and leading the team that designed the Aurora-class passenger aircraft that revolutionized commercial aviation efficiency. She's a graceful woman with keen intelligence, managing to be both the creative heart of the company and the emotional center of our family. Isabella, my younger sister by 4 years, is the Vice President of International Relations and Strategic Partnerships. At 30, she's brilliant, charming, and everything my parents dreamed their children would become. She speaks 6 languages fluently, holds an MBA from Wharton, and has negotiated partnerships with aerospace companies from Tokyo to Stockholm. She's beautiful in that effortless way that suggests good genetics and expensive maintenance, with flowing dark hair and the kind of smile that makes international business deals feel like friendly conversations. They are giants in their industry, the architects of a multi-billion-dollar empire that shapes the future of human flight and space exploration. And me? I'm the only one who turned away from the family dynasty, rejecting the opportunity to inherit wealth and prestige beyond most people's dreams to pursue a life they cannot comprehend or value. I enter the pavilion where nearly 250 guests mingle among white silk draping, crystal chandeliers that cast rainbow patterns on the walls, and floral arrangements that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. The air carries the mingled scents of gardenias, champagne, and expensive perfume, punctuated by the sparkle of designer gowns and the glint of jewelry that could fund small countries. A hostess in an elegant black dress checks my invitation, printed on paper so thick it feels like fabric, and directs me toward table 15, positioned near the back of the venue, far from the main stage where family members will make their toasts and speeches. I smile and thank her, but my chest tightens with familiar disappointment. Table 15, not the family table where I belong by birth, not even positioned within easy view of the stage, but relegated to the social periphery with distant relatives, family friends, and business associates who warrant invitation but not prominence. I'm not surprised by this placement, but it still cuts like a carefully sharpened blade sliding between ribs. As I navigate through the crowd toward my assigned seat, conversations pause and heads turn with the kind of polite curiosity reserved for family anomalies. I catch fragments of whispered discussions that follow in my wake like a trailing perfume. "That's Elena, the Martinez' eldest daughter," I hear a woman in pearls and diamonds whisper to her companion. "Still playing soldier, can you believe it?" With her intelligence and family connections, she could have revolutionized the aerospace industry instead of wasting away in some government job that probably pays less than we spend on wine. "Such a shame," her companion replies, shaking her head with practiced sympathy. "Ricardo and Carmen must be heartbroken. Isabella turned out perfectly, but Elena..." The sentence trails off with a dismissive gesture. I pretend not to hear, maintaining the serene expression I've perfected over years of classified briefings where showing emotion could compromise national security. I pull out my chair at table 15 and sit down among strangers who acknowledge me with the kind of polite nods reserved for people they should probably recognize but don't consider important enough to remember. From my seat, I have a clear view of the main stage where Isabella stands like a princess from a modern fairy tale. She's radiant in a flowing emerald dress that perfectly complements her olive skin, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders in waves that catch the light. She stands hand in hand with Marcus, a tall, handsome man with the kind of easy confidence that comes from never having to worry about money or social status. My father stands beside them, raising a champagne flute to address the crowd, his voice carrying across the pavilion with the practiced authority of someone accustomed to being heard and obeyed. "Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished friends," he begins, his deep voice resonating through the sound system. "Tonight, we celebrate not just Isabella's engagement to this remarkable young man, but the continuation of excellence that defines what it means to be part of the Martinez family legacy." The crowd responds with enthusiastic applause. I clap too, genuinely happy for Isabella's joy, but I can't suppress the bitter thought. Would he speak about family excellence if he knew that his eldest daughter holds more real power than anyone in this room? My father continues, his chest swelling with paternal pride. Isabella represents the very best of our family values: innovation, leadership, international vision, and the commitment to building something greater than ourselves. She has taken Aerotech's global partnerships to unprecedented heights, securing contracts and alliances that will define the future of aerospace technology. Another wave of applause sweeps the pavilion. I join in, but inside I'm wondering, if he knew what I truly do, would he mention that his other daughter has spent the last decade building and defending the very systems that protect the skies his aircraft fly through? The irony is almost suffocating. Here I sit, surrounded by people celebrating commercial aerospace achievements, while I remain invisible to them as the person who ensures their industry can operate safely in airspace I help secure. Growing up, Isabella and I were not just sisters, we were best friends, confidants, partners in all the small adventures and large dreams that fill childhood. We lived in a sprawling estate in Palos Verdes, with its infinity pool that seemed to merge with the Pacific horizon, gardens that required a team of landscapers to maintain, and a view that made every sunset feel like a personal gift from nature. Our father used to gather us in his study after dinner, surrounded by model aircraft and framed patents, telling us stories about integrity, innovation, and using our talents to make the world a better place. "Success means nothing if it doesn't serve a greater purpose," he would say, his dark eyes intense with conviction. "Money and power are just tools. What matters is what you build with them, what you protect, what you leave behind for the next generation." I believed every word. I lived by those principles. When I announced my intention to attend the Air Force Academy, I thought he would burst with pride at my decision to serve something larger than personal gain. Instead, he looked at me as if I had announced my intention to join a cult. "The military, Elena?" he said, his voice heavy with disappointment and confusion. "You want to spend your life taking orders and earning a government salary when you could be leading Aerotech into the next century? We could give you your own division, your own research team, unlimited resources to pursue any aerospace innovation you can imagine." Isabella, then only 19 and still finding her own path, stood behind him with a sympathetic but uncomprehending smile. "If you want to work with advanced aircraft, maybe you should design and build them instead of just flying them," she said, her tone carrying the kind of casual dismissal that stings precisely because it's not intended to hurt. "We could use your brain in the company. You could revolutionize passenger safety systems or space exploration technology." From that moment, the distance between my family and me began to grow like a crack in a foundation that widens with each passing season. I threw myself into my studies and military training with a determination that bordered on obsession, driven by the need to prove that my chosen path had value and meaning, even if they couldn't see it. I rose through the ranks with methodical precision, from second lieutenant to first lieutenant, captain to major, lieutenant colonel to colonel, and finally to brigadier general at 33, making me one of the youngest officers to achieve flag rank in the modern Air Force. Each promotion came with increased responsibility, higher security clearances, and deeper involvement in operations that I could never discuss with anyone outside the military community. I led Operation Sky Shield, a classified mission that prevented a coordinated cyber attack on our satellite defense network, an attack that would have crippled not just military communications but civilian GPS systems, air traffic control, and emergency services across the continent. I developed the Quantum Defense Grid, a revolutionary early warning system that uses quantum computing principles to detect and track potential aerial threats with accuracy that was previously impossible. I've briefed presidents on emerging aerospace threats, testified before Congress on classified defense matters, and received commendations from allied nations for joint defense initiatives that remain locked in classified files. But my family never knew about any of it. They never asked about my work beyond polite, surface-level inquiries that made it clear they considered my career a temporary phase I would eventually outgrow. I sent emails about my promotions, included them on invitation lists for medal ceremonies and award presentations, shared photos from significant moments in my military career. The responses were either polite but distant acknowledgments that felt like form letters, or complete silence that spoke louder than any words. My mother would call occasionally, usually late at night when she was working late at the office. "When are you going to leave the military and come work with us, Mija?" she would ask, her voice carrying the weariness of someone who had given up expecting a satisfactory answer. "You have so much to offer the world. We could create a new division focused on defense applications of civilian technology." My father was characteristically more direct. "When you're tired of playing soldier and ready to do something meaningful with your life, let me know. There's always a place for you here, Elena. A real place with real responsibility and real impact." Real responsibility. Real impact. The words cut deep because they revealed how little he understood about what I actually do. In his world, real meant profit margins and market share, board meetings and shareholder reports. He couldn't conceive that protecting national security, defending millions of lives from threats they never know about, might constitute work of equal or greater importance. Now, watching Isabella bask in the admiration and approval of everyone here, I feel that familiar ache of being fundamentally misunderstood by the people whose opinion matters most to me. I'm not bitter toward Isabella. I genuinely admire her accomplishments and want her to be happy. But I can't deny the pain of being seen as the family disappointment, the Martinez daughter who chose duty over dynasty, service over success. A familiar voice interrupts my brooding thoughts. "General Martinez? Is that really you?" I look up to see Colonel Sarah Chen approaching my table, elegant in a midnight blue cocktail dress that doesn't quite disguise her military bearing. Sarah is a colleague from my work on the Quantum Defense Grid project, one of the most brilliant aerospace engineers I've ever worked with. Despite the civilian setting, she maintains the erect posture and direct gaze that mark her as military, and her approach draws curious glances from nearby tables. "Sarah," I stand and extend my hand, keeping my voice carefully modulated. "I didn't expect to see you here. My husband's engineering firm has several partnerships with Aerotech," she explains, her eyes bright with respect and surprise. "I had no idea you were related to the Martinez family. What an honor to see you here, General." "Tonight I'm just Elena," I reply with a smile that feels more natural than any expression I've worn all evening. "Family gathering, not military business." "Of course," Sarah nods understanding, but I can see the wheels turning behind her eyes. She knows exactly who I am and what I do, and the cognitive dissonance of seeing me relegated to a back table at my own sister's engagement party is not lost on her. As Sarah moves away to rejoin her husband, I notice several heads turning in our direction, conversations pausing as people process what they just overheard. A woman at a nearby table leans toward her companion, whispering with the kind of urgent curiosity that spreads through social gatherings like wildfire. "Did she say General? That can't be right. Elena Martinez is just a regular soldier, isn't she? I mean, she's never mentioned holding any important position." Her companion shrugs, clearly more interested in the champagne than in military ranks she doesn't understand. "Maybe it's an honorary title or something. You know how military people like their fancy names for ordinary jobs." I return to my seat, taking a sip of water to calm the complex emotions swirling through my chest. I don't need to prove anything to these people. I don't need their recognition or validation. I check my watch 28 minutes, my encrypted phone will ring with a call that will change the trajectory of this entire evening. But for now, I'm content to sit in the shadows and observe. The engagement party continues with the kind of orchestrated elegance that money can buy. Professional photographers capturing every significant moment, a jazz ensemble providing sophisticated background music, and waitstaff moving like synchronized dancers to ensure every glass remains full and every appetizer appears fresh. I remain at table 15, watching my father speak about Isabella with the kind of unconcealed pride that every child craves from their parents. "My daughter has exceeded every expectation I dared to hold," he says, his voice carrying across the pavilion with practiced authority. "She embodies the innovation, leadership, and global vision that will carry Aerotech Dynamics into the next phase of aerospace evolution. Her work has opened doors to partnerships I never imagined possible, creating opportunities that will benefit not just our company, but the entire industry." The crowd responds with enthusiastic applause. I clap along with everyone else, but inside I'm composing a different speech, one that would tell these same people about the daughter who has spent the last decade opening doors to national security that they never knew needed protecting, creating opportunities for safety and defense that benefit not just our industry, but our entire civilization. But I would never give that speech. My work doesn't seek applause or public recognition. It seeks effectiveness, protection, and the quiet satisfaction of duties fulfilled in service of something greater than personal advancement. As the formal presentations wind down and the party shifts toward dancing and more casual conversation, I step out onto the resort's main terrace. The view is breathtaking. The Pacific Ocean stretches to the horizon, painted in shades of gold and crimson by the setting sun, while the coastline curves away in both directions like a string of lights beginning to twinkle in the gathering dusk. I pull out my personal phone and scroll to an old email, the invitation I sent my parents and Isabella to my promotion ceremony to Brigadier General 2 years ago. The ceremony took place at the Pentagon, with representatives from allied nations, senior defense officials, and media coverage that focused on my groundbreaking work in aerospace defense innovation. The invitation had included a personal note explaining the significance of the honor and how much their presence would mean to me. No response. No acknowledgement. Just silence that spoke volumes about their priorities and their perception of my life's work. I close my phone and breathe deeply, letting the salt air fill my lungs and the sound of waves wash away the familiar sting of rejection. I'm not here tonight to settle scores or demand recognition. I'm here because I love my family, even when they can't understand or value the path I've chosen. But I also know that I check my watch again 15 minutes, everything will change. At exactly 8:47 p.m., as predicted, my encrypted military phone vibrates with an incoming call. The caller ID shows only a number that I recognize as belonging to the Pentagon's Crisis Management Center. I step away from the terrace, finding a quiet corner near the resort's chapel where the ocean breeze carries away the party's background noise. Brigadier General Martinez, I answer, my voice automatically shifting into the crisp, professional tone that my position requires. General, this is Colonel Peterson from Strategic Operations. We have a situation requiring your immediate attention. My pulse quickens, but my voice remains steady. What's the nature of the situation, Colonel? Intelligence indicates a potential coordinated attack on West Coast aerospace facilities within the next 72 hours. We need you to activate Protocol 7 and coordinate with local defense contractors for immediate security assessment and upgrade. Aerotech Dynamics is on the priority list. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders like a familiar cloak. Understood. I'll need complete facility access and executive cooperation. Authorization level: Presidential. General, you have complete authority to implement any security measures necessary. The safety of these facilities is now your direct responsibility. I'll be at Aerotech headquarters first thing tomorrow morning, I confirm. Send me the full intelligence brief within the hour. Already en route to your secure device, General. Good luck. The line goes dead, and I stand in the gathering darkness, staring out at the ocean while processing the implications of this call. In less than 12 hours, I'll walk into Aerotech Dynamics not as the family disappointment, but as Brigadier General Elena Martinez, carrying presidential authority to do whatever is necessary to protect the facility, and by extension, my family's life's work. The irony is almost overwhelming. For 8 years, my family has dismissed my military career as an insignificant distraction from real work. Tomorrow, that same dismissed career will be the only thing standing between their company and potential destruction. I return to the party where the dancing has begun and the atmosphere has shifted from formal celebration to relaxed enjoyment. Isabella glides across the temporary dance floor in Marcus's arms, her dress flowing around her like something from a dream. My parents stand at the edge of the crowd, watching their younger daughter with obvious satisfaction and pride. I approach them slowly, my mind already shifting between family dynamics and the mission briefing I'll receive within the hour. My father notices me first, his expression brightening with the kind of polite warmth reserved for relatives you're obligated to acknowledge but don't quite know how to engage. "Elena, there you are," he says, extending his arms for a brief hug that feels more like a corporate greeting than paternal affection. "Are you enjoying the party?" Isabella looks radiant, doesn't she? "She's beautiful," I agree, meaning it completely. "You and Mom have raised an amazing young woman." My mother joins the conversation, her designer dress and jewelry reflecting her success but her eyes holding the same confusion about me that has persisted for years. "It's so wonderful to have you home, Mija. I just wish it could be more often." "My work keeps me busy," I reply, which is both true and a massive understatement. "Still with the military," my father observes, his tone carrying just enough resignation to sting. "When do you think you'll be ready to transition to something more substantial?" The word substantial hangs in the air like a challenge. Tomorrow, he'll discover exactly how substantial my work truly is. But tonight, I simply smile and say, "I'm exactly where I need to be, Dad." He nods with the kind of polite acceptance that clearly indicates he considers this conversation a dead end, then turns his attention back to Isabella and the dancing couples. My mother gives me a sympathetic look that somehow hurts more than my father's dismissal. I excuse myself and return to my hotel room, where I spend the next 3 hours reviewing classified intelligence reports on my secure tablet. The threat assessment is serious, a coordinated attack designed to cripple West Coast aerospace manufacturing capabilities, potentially setting back American aviation technology by decades and killing hundreds of workers in the process. Aerotech Dynamics, as one of the largest and most advanced facilities, represents a primary target. My family's life work, their thousands of employees, their contributions to both civilian and military aviation, all of it could be destroyed if I don't do my job perfectly. As I review facility blueprints and security protocols, I realize that tomorrow will bring more than just revelation of my true role. It will test whether I can separate my personal feelings from my professional responsibilities, whether I can protect people who don't respect me while maintaining the high standards my position requires. I fall asleep reviewing contingency plans and wake before dawn, already focused on the mission ahead. Today, Elena Martinez, the family disappointment, will cease to exist, replaced by Brigadier General Martinez, the officer responsible for protecting one of America's most critical aerospace facilities. The morning arrives crisp and clear, with the kind of perfect California weather that makes everything seem possible. I dress in my dress blue uniform, the formal attire that leaves no doubt about my rank and authority. The dark blue fabric is perfectly pressed, my ribbons represent years of distinguished service and classified achievements, and the silver star of my rank gleams on my shoulders like a beacon of the authority I've earned through dedication and expertise. I look at myself in the hotel room mirror and see not the family disappointment, but a general who has earned every symbol of rank and responsibility displayed on my uniform. Today, there will be no confusion about who I am, what I represent, or why my presence matters. My official military driver arrives promptly at 0800 hours in a black sedan with government plates. As we pass through the gates of Aerotech Dynamics, I review my mission parameters one final time. This isn't personal, it's national security. I'm here to assess threats, implement protection protocols, and ensure the safety of critical aerospace infrastructure, regardless of family connections or personal relationships. The Aerotech Dynamics complex sprawls across WUBI acres of prime Los Angeles real estate, a magnificent testament to American aerospace innovation. The main headquarters rises 40 stories into the morning sky, its blue-tinted glass facade reflecting clouds and sunshine like a mirror. Surrounding it are manufacturing facilities, testing hangars, and research laboratories where the future of flight is being designed and built. As my car approaches the main entrance, I see employees arriving for their shifts, security guards manning checkpoints, and the normal rhythm of a major corporation beginning another day of business. None of them know that their facility is under potential threat, or that their safety now depends on the expertise of a general they've never met. The executive elevator carries me silently to the top floor, where Aerotech's boardroom occupies a space designed to impress and intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows offer panoramic views of Los Angeles, from the mountains to the ocean, while the conference room itself features a mahogany table that could seat 20 people and audio-visual equipment that rivals Pentagon briefing rooms. As I enter, conversations stop and heads turn with the kind of sharp attention that military uniforms command in civilian settings. My father sits at the head of the massive table, dressed in his signature navy suit, his silver hair perfectly styled, projecting the confident authority of a man accustomed to controlling every situation. Isabella sits to his right, elegant in a charcoal business suit, her hair pulled back in a sophisticated style that emphasizes her intelligent eyes and professional demeanor. Also present are Aerotech's senior executives, military liaison officers, security consultants, and Robert Harrison, the company's chief legal counsel and government relations director. Robert is an old friend from my Pentagon days, one of the few people who requested this briefing through official channels and who knows exactly why I'm here. Robert stands as I enter, his face displaying the kind of respect and recognition that I haven't seen from anyone in this building before. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce Brigadier General Elena Martinez, Director of Aerospace Defense Innovation and Strategic Operations, United States Space Force, here under presidential authority to conduct a critical security assessment. The silence that follows is absolute and profound. I can hear the whisper of air conditioning, the distant hum of city traffic far below, and what sounds like my father's coffee cup being set down on its saucer with trembling hands. Isabella's mouth opens slightly, her professional composure cracking as she stares at me with an expression of shock, confusion, and dawning realization. My father looks at me as if seeing a stranger wearing his daughter's face. This man who taught me about integrity and service, who built an aerospace empire on principles of innovation and excellence, now stares at his eldest daughter with an expression that cycles through surprise, confusion, and what might be shame. I take my designated seat at the opposite end of the table from my father, placing my classified briefing folder on the polished surface with the kind of precise movement that reflects years of military bearing. The weight of every gaze in the room settles on me, but I maintain the calm professionalism that my position requires. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison," I respond, my voice carrying the authority of my rank and the gravity of my mission. "I'm here to conduct an immediate and comprehensive security assessment of this facility. Based on current intelligence, Aerotech Dynamics faces credible threats that require immediate attention and enhanced protection protocols." Isabella finds her voice first, though it comes out smaller and less confident than her usual commanding tone. "Elena, you're actually a general?" I look at my sister with the same professional composure I would show to any corporate executive in a security briefing. "Yes, Meng. I've held this rank for 2 years and I've been working in aerospace defense for over a decade." My father clears his throat, struggling to process this information while maintaining his executive demeanor. "Elena, I mean General Martinez, we had no idea about your position or authority level." "That's evident, Mr. Martinez," I reply evenly, without malice but with the kind of directness that makes it clear we're now operating in my professional domain. "Shall we proceed with the security assessment? Time is a critical factor." Robert steps in smoothly, his experience in military corporate relations helping to navigate the obvious family tension. "General Martinez, Aerotech Dynamics is prepared to provide complete cooperation with your security assessment. We understand the gravity of the situation and appreciate the protection offered by your involvement." I nod, opening my classified folder and consulting the intelligence brief I memorized during my flight from Colorado. "Before we discuss current threats, I need to understand your existing security infrastructure and recent changes in international partnerships or personnel." I look directly at Isabella, shifting seamlessly into the role of investigating officer. "Ms. Martinez, as Vice President of International Relations, you've recently signed agreements with manufacturing partners in 3 different countries. Can you provide detailed information about the security clearances and background investigations completed for these partnerships?" Isabella fumbles with her tablet, clearly rattled by the sudden shift in our relationship dynamic. We followed all standard commercial procedures for international partnerships. Commercial procedures are insufficient for facilities with defense contracts, I interrupt gently but firmly. Defense-related partnerships require additional security protocols, including FBI background checks for key personnel and regular security updates. Were these completed? The room falls silent except for the rustling of papers as Isabella searches for documentation she clearly doesn't have. My father watches this exchange with growing realization of its serious implications, his face reflecting the dawning understanding that his daughter's military career was never the insignificant distraction he assumed it to be. Furthermore, I continue, consulting my notes, the budget allocation shows a $31 million expenditure for international consultation and partnership development that lacks detailed justification in your security filings. Can you provide comprehensive documentation for these expenditures? Isabella looks to my father for assistance, but he remains silent, his usual commanding presence diminished by the realization that he's witnessing a level of authority and expertise he never knew his eldest daughter possessed. I'm not trying to embarrass them or establish dominance. I'm conducting the same thorough security assessment I would perform at any critical facility. The safety of this installation, its thousands of employees, and its contributions to national aerospace capabilities now rests in my hands, and I take that responsibility seriously regardless of family relationships. I'll need comprehensive documentation within 24 hours, I state with calm firmness. Current intelligence suggests coordinated threats against West Coast aerospace facilities, and this assessment cannot proceed without complete transparency regarding foreign partnerships and financial arrangements. The Chief Technology Officer attempts to shift focus to technical security measures, but my questions quickly identify vulnerabilities in their cybersecurity infrastructure that could provide entry points for sophisticated attackers. My inquiries are precise and informed by years of experience protecting aerospace facilities from threats that most civilian contractors never consider. Your current firewall system has a critical vulnerability in its satellite communication protocols, I explain, consulting my technical analysis. An enemy with sufficient resources could exploit this weakness to access your design databases, manufacturing schedules, and potentially your aircraft control systems. This represents an unacceptable risk to both national security and worker safety. The CTO takes notes frantically, clearly understanding that he's receiving a security evaluation far more sophisticated than anything his company has previously experienced. The other executives exchange glances that reflect their growing comprehension of the seriousness of both the threats and my authority to address them. The briefing continues for 4 hours, during which I conduct the most thorough security assessment of my career. I examine their personnel clearance procedures, evaluate their physical security infrastructure, review their international communications protocols, and identify dozens of vulnerabilities that require immediate attention. Every question, every recommendation, every directive carries the weight of presidential authority and my responsibility to protect critical national infrastructure. As the meeting concludes, the executives file out with expressions ranging from concern to admiration, clearly understanding that their facility faces serious scrutiny and that their cooperation with my recommendations isn't optional. My father and Isabella remain seated, staring at me as if trying to reconcile the daughter and sister they thought they knew with the general who has just demonstrated expertise and authority beyond anything they imagined possible. Robert approaches my chair as I organize my classified documents. Outstanding briefing, General. Your assessment was exactly what we needed to understand the scope of required improvements. Thank you, Robert. I'll expect preliminary implementation reports within 48 hours. The security of this facility is now my direct responsibility, and I intend to ensure it meets the highest possible standards. After Robert leaves, the boardroom contains only family, but the dynamics have shifted completely. The silence stretches uncomfortably until my father finally speaks, his voice carrying emotions I've rarely heard from him. Elena, why didn't you tell us who you really are? I look at this man who taught me everything I know about integrity, leadership, and service to something greater than personal gain. I tried to tell you, Dad. For years, I sent invitations to my promotion ceremonies, updates about my assignments, photographs from medal presentations, and international conferences. You never responded. You never asked. Isabella shakes her head in obvious disbelief and growing understanding. But we thought. I mean, you never explained that you were responsible for protecting facilities like this one. I told you I was serving our country in aerospace defense, I reply quietly. You assumed that meant I was unimportant because the work couldn't be discussed in detail. You measured my success by your standards instead of trying to understand mine. My father stands and walks to the massive windows overlooking the city, his back to us as he processes the implications of this revelation. All these years, we thought you were wasting your potential. I wasn't wasting anything, I say, my voice carrying years of suppressed hurt but no anger. I was building expertise and authority that you couldn't see because you weren't willing to look beyond your own definition of success. Isabella's eyes fill with tears as the full impact of her previous dismissiveness becomes clear. Elena, I'm so sorry. I said such terrible things about your choices, your career. I had no idea you were protecting people like us. I stand, gathering my classified documents and securing them in my briefcase. I didn't come here to make you feel guilty or to prove anything about family dynamics. I came here to protect this facility and everyone who works in it. But I hope now you understand that my life has meaning and value that extends beyond corporate profit margins. My father turns from the window, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pride, shame, and dawning respect. You're right, Elena. I failed you as a father. I was so focused on what I thought success should look like that I couldn't recognize your actual achievements. Can you forgive me? There's nothing to forgive, Dad, I reply, meaning it completely. We just need to start seeing each other clearly, without assumptions or preconceptions. Isabella approaches me hesitantly, as if approaching someone she's meeting for the first time. Can we try to rebuild our relationship? I want to know who you really are, not who I thought you were. I look at my sister, remembering the child who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, who trusted me to protect her from nightmares and imaginary dangers. I'd like that, I say. But it has to be based on who we really are, not who we think each other should be. My father extends his hand formally, a gesture that carries new weight and meaning. General Martinez, it would be an honor to work with you to implement the security improvements you've identified. Aerotech Dynamics is committed to meeting every standard you require. I shake his hand, noting how strange it feels to have my father address me by military rank, but also recognizing the respect behind the formality. I expect full compliance with all security protocols, Mr. Martinez. The safety of this facility and its personnel is non-negotiable. Over the following weeks, I split my time between Peterson Space Force Base and Aerotech Dynamics, overseeing the implementation of comprehensive security upgrades. The work is intense and demanding, requiring coordination between military intelligence agencies, corporate security teams, and international law enforcement. But it's also deeply satisfying in ways that go beyond professional accomplishment. For the first time in my adult life, my family witnesses my expertise firsthand. They see me brief executives with authority that commands immediate attention. They watch me coordinate with intelligence agencies, analyze threat assessments, and make decisions that affect thousands of lives. Most importantly, they begin to understand that my work isn't just meaningful, it's essential. Isabella proves to be a quick learner and valuable asset in implementing the international partnership security protocols. Her language skills and diplomatic experience make her invaluable in explaining new requirements to foreign partners, while her growing understanding of security necessities helps bridge the gap between commercial interests and defense requirements. I never realized how complex international security really is, she tells me during one of our late-night strategy sessions. I thought our commercial background checks were thorough, but this level of investigation and monitoring is like nothing I've ever seen. When you're protecting critical infrastructure, you can't assume good intentions, I explain, reviewing a partnership agreement with a German aerospace firm. Every connection, every access point, every line of communication represents a potential vulnerability that hostile actors can exploit. My father proves equally engaged in the security upgrade process, throwing Aerotech's full resources behind every recommendation I make. He attends every briefing, asks detailed questions about threat assessments, and demonstrates a level of respect for my expertise that I never experienced growing up. "I'm beginning to understand what you've been doing all these years," he tells me one evening as we review facility improvement plans in his executive office. "I thought leadership meant commanding boardrooms and directing corporate strategy. I never considered that real leadership might mean protecting people who never know they're in danger." 6 weeks after my initial security assessment, the enhanced protection protocols prove their worth. Intelligence intercepts reveal that the anticipated attack on West Coast aerospace facilities was indeed planned and coordinated, but the upgraded security measures at Aerotech and other protected facilities forced the hostile actors to abandon their operation. Hundreds of lives were saved, billions of dollars in infrastructure protected, and American aerospace capabilities preserved, all because dedicated professionals did their jobs without seeking recognition or acclaim. The successful defense operation earns me a commendation from the Secretary of Defense and recognition from Allied intelligence services, but the satisfaction I feel comes from knowing that my family's lifework remains safe and that thousands of Aerotech employees can continue their important contributions to aerospace innovation. 3 months later, I receive an unexpected package at my base office. Inside is a framed photograph, my official portrait as a brigadier general, taken during my promotion ceremony 2 years earlier. A handwritten note from my mother reads, "For our office wall, next to your father's CEO portrait and Isabella's VP photograph. We're proud of all our children's achievements. Love, Mom and Dad." I hang the photograph on my office wall, next to my academy diploma and medal citations, feeling a completeness I haven't experienced since childhood. For the first time in years, the different aspects of my identity, daughter, sister, general, protector, no longer feel in conflict with each other. The real test of our rebuilt relationship comes 6 months later, when Isabella asks me to participate in her wedding not as the family disappointment, but as her maid of honor. When she requests that I wear my dress uniform for the ceremony, I'm so moved I can barely speak. "I want everyone to see who you really are," she says, her voice thick with emotion. "I want them to know that the Martinez family produces not just business leaders, but the people who keep us all safe. I want to honor the sister who has spent her life protecting others, including me." At the wedding, I stand beside Isabella in my dress blues, my ribbons and rank insignia drawing respectful attention from guests who finally understand the depth of achievement represented by my military career. When my father gives his speech, he speaks with equal pride about both his daughters, one who designs the aircraft that connect our world, and one who protects the skies they fly through. "My daughters represent the best of what it means to serve something greater than yourself," he says, his voice carrying across the wedding venue with genuine emotion. Isabella builds bridges between nations through commercial aviation, while Elena builds shields that protect those bridges from those who would destroy them. I'm proud of both their achievements and grateful for their dedication to making the world better and safer. The applause that follows feels different from the polite recognition I've received at previous family gatherings. This time, it carries understanding, respect, and genuine appreciation for contributions that extend beyond profit margins and market share. As I watch Isabella dance with her new husband, I feel a peace I haven't experienced since childhood. My family finally sees me clearly, and I no longer need their validation to know my worth. But having it, after so many years of misunderstanding, feels like a gift I never expected to receive. The evening ends with my father and me talking on the hotel balcony, looking up at stars that are barely visible through the Los Angeles light pollution. "You know what I understand now?" he says quietly. "All those years I thought you were wasting your potential, you were actually fulfilling it in ways I couldn't comprehend." "I was protecting the foundation that everything else is built on," I reply. including Aerotech, including this family, including the freedom to pursue the dreams and innovations that matter to you. He nods, understanding finally dawning completely. I'm proud of you, Elena. I should have said that years ago, and I should have tried harder to understand what you were really doing. You're saying it now, I tell him, feeling the last vestiges of old hurt finally healing. That's what matters. As I return to my duties the following week, I carry with me not just the satisfaction of family reconciliation, but the deeper knowledge that true success comes not from others' recognition, but from the quiet certainty that your life serves a purpose greater than personal advancement. I am Brigadier General Elena Martinez, daughter, sister, and guardian of the skies. And for the first time in my adult life, those identities exist in perfect harmony. The months that follow bring new challenges and opportunities. My work continues to evolve as aerospace threats become more sophisticated and international cooperation becomes more critical. Isabella and I develop a close working relationship, combining her diplomatic skills with my security expertise to create partnership protocols that other aerospace companies adopt as industry standards. My parents begin attending my military awards ceremonies and promotion events, making up for years of absence with genuine interest and support. When I receive the Distinguished Service Medal for my work on international aerospace defense cooperation, they sit in the front row, their faces glowing with the kind of pride I always hoped to see. But perhaps the most meaningful change is the simplest one. Family dinners where my parents ask about my work with the same interest and respect they show for Isabella's corporate achievements. We talk about threat assessments and security protocols with the same engagement we once reserved for market analyses and partnership agreements. I finally understand why you chose this path, my mother tells me one evening as we walk through their garden overlooking the Pacific. You saw something bigger than what we were building at Aerotech. You saw the foundation that everything else depends on. I saw a way to serve, I reply simply. To use my abilities to protect people and preserve the things that matter most. She nods, taking my arm as we walk. Your father and I spent so many years thinking about building success that we forgot someone has to protect it once it's built. We needed you more than we realized. As I continue my career and watch my family grow to understand and value the path I've chosen, I'm reminded that success isn't measured by recognition or approval from others, not even from family. True success comes from the alignment between your abilities, your values, and your contribution to something larger than yourself. I am who I was meant to be, a guardian, a protector, a woman who found her purpose in service to ideals greater than personal gain. Whether my family understands that or not doesn't change its truth. But now, thankfully, they do understand, and the harmony between my professional identity and my family relationships creates a foundation of peace I never expected to achieve. The future holds new challenges, evolving threats, and continued opportunities to serve. I'll meet them with the same dedication and expertise I've brought to every mission throughout my career. But now I'll also meet them with the knowledge that my family stands behind me, finally understanding not just what I do but why it matters. In the end, this story isn't about proving others wrong or demanding recognition for hidden achievements. It's about the patient persistence required to stay true to your purpose even when those closest to you can't see its value. It's about the possibility of reconciliation when people finally choose to see each other clearly. And it's about the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing your life's work serves something greater than yourself, regardless of whether anyone else understands or acknowledges that service. I am Brigadier General Elena Martinez, and I am exactly where I belong.